All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. In today's video, as you can see by the title, it's going to be talking about the Blood Angels and why they're tied for my favorite Space Marine chapter in Warhammer 40k. Now, as a preface, right, to let everyone know, I've not read any novels that relate to or heavily involve the Blood Angels. A lot of my knowledge comes from memes and, more often than not, secondhand sources from other content creators or other sources. So what I may say uh, may not be accurate. So I apologize in advance if I misrepresent the Blood Angels as a chapter of Space Marines. If I say something that is incorrect, I do apologize in advance. But want to let you all know about this in advance. Now, what about the Blood Angels do I like? Right? What makes them tied for my favorite Space Marine chapter? And number one would be their Primarch. I do Sanguinius. From everything I know of him, from the Horus Heresy novels, from that whole long, storied book series, Sanguinius was a very interesting character, and generally speaking, everyone liked him or had some kind of good general rapport with him, as far as my knowledge goes. I know he also, as a character, had his issues. He had his own self doubts, or had his own uh, problems with how he viewed himself. Partly because he was a mutant by technical standards because of his wings. He also, I believe, was a psyker. So there was a lot of internal issues, internal conflicts and struggles that he had, along with the same general struggles, or along with problems that his sons had, and he vowed to do better for them, and they ultimately all kind of got better. They're also one of the good, in quotes, you know, very strong air quotes. They are one of the good Space Marine chapters. Uh, that's at least how it's portrayed that the Blood Angels can be. Not said they can't be terrifying monsters when they want to be. They very well can. But they, alongside the Salamanders, the Ultramarines, and a handful of other chapters, names are I'm drawing up on blanks, are all, at least in my knowledge, considered the good Space Marine chapters. They're lofty and exquisite, motifs with their designs. On top of the kind of biblical nature of their names, mixed with the vampire slash the monster within themes for not only the Blood Angels but also their successors. I think makes them visually very interesting, and also to the extent of the monster within kind of trope with them. The Black Rage, in my opinion, makes their chapter, along with their successor chapters, have more compelling characters, and with that, more compelling conflicts that said characters may have to deal with, besides the typical external conflict of fighting the Xenos or fighting heretics or chaos or whatever have you. It adds an extra layer of depth to these characters, even if you could boil down the Black Rage to just everyone they see at that point is just Horus, and they want to do nothing but kill, maim, burn, kind of thing. Their heraldry in chapter colors, and granted, with their chapter colors, they're just basically red with little hints of black, and then obviously different helmet colors depending on what rank they are, whether they're sergeant or lieutenant. I do think is cool, even if their chapter colors are fairly basic. Who doesn't like red and black, or black and red in the case of Death Company? Some of their successors, like the Flesh Tearers and whatnot, aren't too dissimilar in terms of their overall colors. Their heraldry is nothing too crazy and ostentatious, with what their actual chapter icon is, but it is something that is very good looking. It looks good, like a good deal of the other first founding or original chapters. along with that, their names all being of, in one way or another, biblical sounding, or very, I guess you say, Catholic sounding, also lends itself to them being overall just kind of cool, like from the face of it, before you get into reading about, stories that center around Dante, or, or getting further into like the devastation of Baal. Uh, but bringing up Commander Dante, just from everything I've seen of him, right, as the chapter master of the Blood Angels, has some funny memes about him. Um, he is the oldest living serving Space Marine that is not a dreadnought, and to that, from everything I do know of Commander Dante, it is sad. It's sad how in most instances where it looks like he's going to die, he effectively is told no and doesn't. He either doesn't die and manages to just barely eke it out and survive, or he does technically die, but then in one way or another gets revivified, and he's basically just an old man. Right? He's the oldest living Space Marine that isn't a dreadnought, still actively fighting, still actively in a command position, really doing his best. Now, why didn't I start with Blood Angels, and why did I start with Ultramarines when I got into tabletop 40k, playing it, trying to learn it? And the main number one reason I chose to start with Ultramarines instead of Blood Angels, and this harkens back to my a previous video I made a week ago. I didn't start with I started with Ultramarines because I wanted a more balanced army that wasn't melee or shooting focused. I wanted something that could do a little bit of everything, because at the time I didn't know, hey, what kind of army would I like to play, because I already had an idea as to like what factions I liked, what factions already kind of were speaking to me. But it came down to, well, if I'm gonna collect any models, if I'm gonna build and paint them, and when I get an army together, I want to not only like how they look, but also like how they play. To that end, also part of a big reason why I didn't start with Blood Angels, and why I chose to learn Space Marines through Ultramarines, was the Death Company units, the jump pack and non-jump pack units. Their wargear options seemed very intimidating at the time, of how to like fully get that situated on a data sheet and determine how many of X guys can use Y weapons and what are the limitations. I know it's all written out in their data sheet, but at the time when reading it, it was kind of complicated. Since then, I've learned a lot of how to properly determine wargear options for models, thanks to my experience of playing Chaos Space Marines and my one time playing the Leagues of Votann. Since then, I've definitely learned more, and it's not as daunting of a task. Now, will I play a Blood Angels army? Would I forsake Chaos to go back to the Imperium proper and play Standard Marines instead of Chaos Space Marines? The answer would be probably. I mean, I definitely will. At the very least, I definitely will play Blood Angels. If I had to collect a second army alongside Chaos Space Marines, it 100% would be a Blood Angels army. That or well, like I said, tied for favorite. I would probably collect either Blood Angels or Black Templars, but yes, and especially because I prefer a more aggressive and melee leaning army thanks to Chaos Space Marines, I definitely will be at least trying a Blood Angels army. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying that I'm going to necessarily enjoy the army as a whole, because I still don't like Oath of Moment as an army rule. But Liberator Assault Group, as a Blood Angels detachment, definitely is something that's up my alley. It's simple, it's straightforward. The enhancements are simple and straightforward. The stratagems that are specific to it are also not too complicated from what I've seen. Overall, I think it'd be quite enjoyable. I think it wouldn't be too bad to get the hang of. But with that, guys, that'll be the end of the video. Very much appreciate you guys for sticking around and listening to my little my thoughts and what have you about why I didn't start with Blood Angels, but why they're my favorite or one of my favorites. They're definitely tied with Black Templars and that. And to that end, I will be making a Black Templars video with this. They're both going to be going alongside each other. It only makes sense. This is one of 3 videos that I have in the stove cooking up. But once again, guys, thank you very much for sticking around, listening, watching. I hope you've enjoyed the B-roll footage that's in the background from Space Marine 2. Hope you guys have a great time wherever you may find yourselves. Leave what your thoughts about the Blood Angels and or other Space Marine chapters in the comment section down below. Feel free to like the video or subscribe. It helps me know that you guys are interested in this kind of content, and obviously let me know and if you want to see more content like this in the future. But until the next time, hope you guys have a great time wherever you may find yourself, whether it be the tabletop of 40k, Dungeons and Dragons, or you're just browsing YouTube or playing video games. Hope you have a great one. And until next time, take care and enjoy the B-roll from Space Marine 2. Peace.
Defenses is failing. Look for replacement power cells. I shall take the power cells. Weak effort, great earn. Finished and ready. Acquiring power cell. Power cell is in hand. Making them count. And can execute. Quit staring. Preparing power cell replacement. Energy levels at maximum. Perimeter defenses will hold. And then I take the round. That whole fire sacred. Other support. Sure that iron fat treats I've seen in past battles. Don't feather around. Rebel will just set. Into the more death. Death averted. Farming up. My range. Ordnance on me. This is only a pause. Reload before the battle resumes. Our weapons will be ready when our foes return. Ejector spent.
Nobody can say that.
May I fight alongside Ultramarines?
Throne is hot.
Foes are marching on the fortress. When we are finished, nothing of them shall remain. Detect a serious threat incoming. Focus and bring it down.
They may try to challenge us.
Prioritize the larger threats. Focus on high priority targets.
Hawk available. Into the fray. Bring down their strongest enemies first.
Priority threat eliminated. Stand firm against the remaining scum. Squad, you are needed at the control room.
We shall meet them wherever they are.